Welcome to Momma-Sota, the podcast where we dive headfirst into the beautiful mess of motherhood. I'm your host, Monica Eickman, and I'm here to keep it real. In a world that changes by the minute, parenting can often feel like an uphill battle. We all want what's best for our children, but what that best looks like varies for every one of us. Momma-Sota is your passport to the unfiltered, unapologetic world of mommy. No perfectly edited snapshots or unattainable ideals here. We're here to share the ups and downs, the triumphs and tantrums, the mess and the beauty of being a mom. Join me as we explore the raw and authentic side of parenting. This is your safe space to vent, laugh, and learn as we navigate the unpredictable journey of raising strong, capable, and independent children for the future. Joining us today is special guest Michelle Hamilton. She is a wife and mother to one daughter who, like many, faced significant life changes due to COVID and regulations. She went from a long-time career in nursing to stay-at-home mom to mompreneur in just a short time. Welcome, Michelle, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
So, becoming a mother itself presents women with a whole host of questions and changes they hadn't even thought about. And then we all went through COVID, which was an entirely new phase of parenting, and life changes and decisions arose. As did many, you felt pretty life-altering impacts with that. So I'd like to get into, more of all of that and how that's changed for you. But first, just tell us about you and your family.
Sure. We live in southeast Minnesota in the Rochester area. We live in a really small town called Hayfield, and I think the population's like 1,300 here, but we just live north of town on a little acreage. We have about 10 acres. I married my high school sweetheart. We've been married for 23 years, I believe. Our daughter is 5.5 years old already. It just flies. Yeah. And my husband, he has a full-time career also. He works as a quality engineer, and we have a couple dogs. We've got chickens, we've got apple trees, and all the fun things out there. It's just really peaceful little place to live. So that's our life right now in a nutshell and where we are.
So married 23 years, one kid at 5.5. I know she was born also what some would consider like later in life. Was that all just part of like life choices, just the way things developed for you guys? Tell us more on that.
Yeah, I'm kind of an open book on that. So we, like I said, we're high school sweethearts. I met my husband when I was 15 or 16. I think I had just turned 16, and he was 18. So we've been together a really long time. I will be, let's see, how old will I be this year? 46. So we really had like a whole life together. He did a whole military career in the Iowa Army National Guard, and he retired out of that before we even had our daughter. We did a ton of traveling. I did all my education. So we kind of just pursued being parents as, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. So we never prevented it, and it never happened for a long time. And I think for a while we were okay with that. And my husband had 3 deployments during those 21 years of service, and I was working in an emergency department in Rochester. So life was really busy, and I don't think it was kind of at the forefront of our minds. So looking back, I think it was okay at that time. But as we got older, it was something that we wanted to pursue, and we did a little bit, and it feels like so long ago. I think we did some like testing and things, and it just didn't happen. So we were like, okay, well, again, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. So back in 2019, I got pregnant. I was 39 years old, and we didn't believe it at first. It happened very naturally. We were doing Whole30. It's a way of eating, kind of just back to your basics, like meat, vegetables. My husband and I were doing that for a long time, and it was just kind of our way of life. And I think that was a contributing factor. So just the healthy eating, and I was starting to dabble in more of the healthier lifestyle living kind of choices. And I think a lot of that had a profound impact on us getting pregnant. So so we were pregnant. I was 39, and I was considered a geriatric pregnancy, and that in itself funny to me, like a high risk pregnancy when I really didn't have any other high risk, things going on. But so we have this wonderful little girl, and it's just wild because I feel like we lived this whole life and now she's here. And it's wonderful, but it's also very chaotic right now with all the things that we have going on. So,
Yeah, I would say there's so many pieces of your story that I'm like, yep, I relate there, relate there. My husband and I, same high school sweethearts. We actually met each other because we lived across the street when we were like 8 years old, but
oh my
started
God.
dating. Yeah, started dating in high school and then got married after college. Same thing, not doing anything to prevent, except we were like, wanting to have a child. So that was the difference there. But but same thing as like after it didn't happen for like a year, we're like, okay, let's go do testing. And it was just like it was a matter of taking ovulation tests because it was just like timing, but it's
Oh,
like
yeah. Yes. Yes.
yeah, it's just like wild the way.
It brings back honestly like so many memories. Like I haven't thought about that whole process. And it's a process when you're going through it. There's just so many things that, I kind of have forgotten about.
No,
But
it's true too because I talk about because I have three now and one on the way, but and I even forget sometimes I'm like, okay, how many like missed periods did I have with this one? Or like, when did we try with this one? Or, it's like,
yes, yes. I have this planner. Once I found out I was pregnant, I think I found it on Amazon. It was like a 9-month calendar and it had all these like stickers and things of all of the appointments and all of my blood pressure readings and all the supplement, all the things. And I was like looking back, I'm like, why did I do that? But it was like I was so engrossed in that time of my life. And it was just so new. Like it was unexpected but I look back on that now and I'm like, I'm so glad I did that for my daughter,
Mhm.
because she has that now to like look back on. And I don't know, some of that stuff might translate into her life, genetic wise and all the things that I went through. But yeah, it can be life consuming and it's beautiful all at the same time too. So
So then throughout your pregnancy, when did you kind of start thinking about like how you wanted to raise your daughter? Both, I mean, there's, parenting styles, but then also in you're in a much more natural and holistic stage of your life now. When did that kind of pop up?
that definitely started before we even got pregnant. So that I feel like back in 2000, and I say this on our business website, it's kind of just part of our story. Back in 2011, I saw a holistic kind of minded chiropractor. His name was Chris, and he really just was the fire that lit my passion for healthy living. And it's kind of silly because I was in healthcare. You'd think that, well, you're working as a nurse in healthcare, you're going to be very healthy minded. But it was just this whole new world of like holistic care, like
Hmm.
things to do to help prevent, disease or whatever. And when I was working in conventional medicine, it wasn't that kind of mind frame. So it all started back 2011 with that visit, and it all started with just eating like whole foods. And to me now, it seems so simple, but back then it wasn't. I had so many questions. So we had that lifestyle started in 2011. And then, like I said, I had my daughter in 2019. So I feel like we had a really great foundation for kind of a healthier lifestyle. So a lot of that stuff was just really easy to instill into our new transition into parenthood. But as life has progressed since 2019, life has definitely, and since COVID, I think everybody could agree with this, life has gotten chaotic and crazier. And it's funny because I always think like I pursued this business, this passion of mine because of healthy living, healthy lifestyles. And it's kind of on the back burner right now. And I am okay with that because I feel like we're in a really busy season. And I have to recognize that like there's certain things that I can do right now and there's certain things that I can't do right now. And I just have to be realistic with that. So we do the best we can. So yeah.
I think too, like you said, there's so many facets of life. Growing up, I wanted to be in the healthcare industry, and Western medicine is all I knew as far as like when I was sick or what my parents did for me and my upbringing. And then, like I had said before, I got pregnant with my first, and my husband was kind of in his hippie era, and he's raising questions to me about vaccines and circumcision, and I'm like, I don't. I mean, I guess I just considered none of that. We'd just do it because that's what everyone does, right? Like,
Yes. No, it's okay to, there is a whole other side of things for sure. And a lot of times it's combining the two and making an informed decision on what is best for you and your family, which I think is beautiful because we definitely utilize conventional medicine when it's needed. But I also feel like we as human beings have a responsibility to take care of ourselves in a way that God intended. I mean, God gives us so many beautiful resources to use. So I think combining the two in a way that works. I mean, that's what works for our family. So,
I was gonna say we're kind of on that same boat and path. I'm like, I've had a harder time. I mean, like again, kinesiology major. I know about diet and exercise. Like I'm very familiar with all of that, but I have a harder time making all of the changes for myself that I want for my children. I'm like, well, I'm still gonna eat McDonald's here and there, but I'm not feeding it to you.
oh my gosh, I totally relate to that because you can't be like, I don't, yeah, like I want to be like, no, that's not good for us. Like if you probably just saw red dye number 40 has been finally, the FDA banned it.
Yep.
Okay. So like you go into, so we go into our bank and my daughter associates going into the bank with getting a sucker.
Yeah.
And I'm use your manners and don't ask them for a sucker. If they, offer you a sucker, that's fine. But I always like, they say, can she have a sucker? And I'd be like, yeah, anyone that's not red,
Yeah.
and I'm
Cream
probably,
soda, please.
yeah, I probably sound ridiculous, but there's also like things I'm like, well, if I'm presented with a choice, I'm pretty well informed on ingredients, so I'm going to choose whatever's best in that situation. Of course, there's not going to be a sucker that I would buy,
Right.
but I'm not going to say, no, you can't have a sucker today. Let's just not get the red dye 40 today. I don't know.
That's exactly kind of where we're at. It's like when my kids are under two, the birthday party things, I'm like, no, they're not having the cupcake or anything at all. Now it's like, okay, I'm gonna scrape off half your frosty, Let's have a
Yep.
balance. I'm like, I'm not gonna be completely crazy all the time, but
Oh my gosh, I totally get it, totally relate. And it's funny because when you said the cupcake and the frosting thing, my daughter, like I said, she's 5.5, and she'll take a cupcake. And if I don't, restrict or whatever, just inform her, she'll just eat the frosting. Look, mom ate all of it. Like, oh my gosh. And then I tell her, and I think she gets it. Like, I try to explain to her how sugar acts in your body and how it makes you feel. And that's kind of the route we take with some of these things. Like, I let her make decisions too, but I'll jokingly say, and I think she gets it, like, okay, you're going to eat all that frosting. I'm not going on this sugar ride with you, okay? So you go bounce off the walls over there
yep.
and I'll be over here. And she's starting to recognize, I think, how, too much sugar, how it, or like processed sugars, sometimes we try to get the honeys or the maple syrup instead. And I don't know, I just try to teach her those things. I don't want her to ever have like these insecurities about food or, well, my mom taught me that that's not good or that's bad. It's definitely, it's a balance. It's hard. It's really hard sometimes. So
Yeah, we definitely try to strike, like you said, that balance and like have a healthy approach with talking about foods and how they make our bodies feel and how, like you said, it fuels our body or nourishes different parts
yep.
of our body. And then same thing, my oldest 7.5 here, he starts to, certain he has his times too, but certain days he's like, I'm not eating that, mom. I'm trying to be strong and buff. And his New Year's resolution was 100 push-ups every day. I'm like, all right, get after it, buddy.
Yes, I love that. How's he doing with that?
He has been on it actually. Like he'll just jump up and be like, "Oh, mom, I have to finish up my push-ups. I did this many in gym today." And then like I'm like, "Oh, good for you." Like half the time I ask him and he's like, "I'm already done." Like, all right.
Isn't it really cool how our kids, though, like to me, just hearing that's inspiring to me. And it probably just seems so basic, maybe, but it's not. Like, it's just so inspiring to hear that a kid is like, yeah, I want to do this. Because I remember my daughter was asking over Christmas break. My husband, like I said, was in the military, and she's like wanting to do push-ups. So they were on the ground, and like he's teaching her the form, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just love those moments. It's foundational stuff, I think.
And
So
that's so true because like I said, I try to lead by example with certain things, but like like I said, right now, like I'm pregnant and that's always my excuse of like why I can't work out versus like staying in shape through my pregnancy. I'm like, oh, it's time to take a break. Like, so
Yeah.
I don't always necessarily lead by example, but when they, like you said, pick up on things, you're like, all right, I did something right.
Yes. No, I love that. It's very inspirational for sure.
So then diving into your business a little bit more, Dandelion Naturals, that was started in 2022, is that correct?
Yes. Yep.
So what was that time frame then between having your daughter, leaving the nursing field, and then starting your business? Because that was about 2 to 3 years, right?
Yeah, yeah, because
Okay.
she was born in the middle of 2019, and I'm trying to think when did like COVID like became a thing, I think in March of
And the only
2020.
reason I know is because my daughter was born February of 2020, so we just missed it.
Yeah. Yes, yes. So that is right, the right timeline. Yeah. So backing up to that, like 2019, we had her. I did the routine 3 month leave of absence. I was working as a nurse on an outpatient surgical unit in Rochester, and I really loved my maternity leave. My husband took 6 weeks off. It was not paid. We just made that decision. It was like, are we gonna do this? And I'm so glad he did because I ended up having a emergency C-section, which was not at all anything that we wanted, but that's another story. So anyway, he did a 6 week leave. It was wonderful. We did that. And then I had a really hard time. I struggled with going back to work. I just remember I took a video of myself the week before I think I went back. I was just sobbing. I wasn't ready to leave my baby with strangers. But we did, and it went fine. We found a center that we trusted, and it was the same caregiver gal every day. But anyway, so we did that. And then we transitioned to in-home care. We found really the perfect daycare. It was like going to grandma's every day. It was my daughter and 4 other little girls and this wonderful lady that was on the verge of retirement, and we knew that. So we did that and didn't have a care in the world. Like there was days I'd go pick her up and she would cry 'cause she didn't want to go home yet. So it was a very nurturing environment, and I felt I'm a very, what is that word? Emotional. I have high emotional intelligence, so I feel things really
Mhm.
intensely. So I think that process was really hard for me with the whole daycare thing, but it did end up working out. So yeah, so then COVID, the whole COVID thing, I remember staying home. Like our unit shut down for 6 weeks because we weren't doing elective surgeries. My husband was also home working, so that was a huge change because I remember I was basically at home taking care of our daughter, and my husband set up office in our dining room of our house. So we did that for 6 weeks. So that I feel like looking back was kind of getting us ready for this bigger transition that was coming that we didn't see yet.
Yeah, everyone has designed home offices now, but when they were thrust into it, like you said, it was like kitchen counters,
Yeah, yeah, and
living
looking
room
back,
table.
yep. And looking back, I'm like, oh, that was such a fun time of our life. It was because we were both home and we were able to spend a lot of time together, still get work done, and it's not ideal, but it worked. So, and then I went back to work. Daughter went back to that little in-home daycare setting. And then in January of 22, I had big changes with my career due to some COVID mandates. And so I left the career. My nursing career was basically over. And I had no idea what was next. I literally did not know. And our Dandelion Naturals business was born early that year in 2022. I came to my husband and I said, I remember this conversation vividly. We were in our basement and I was like, I'm going to start making soap for a living. He like looked at me
The
like,
matter of
okay. And I'm a very blunt person. I just say things kind of how they are. I don't really have a filter, especially around my husband. And so he was just like, and he says, even now, he's like, I did not say that. I'm like, yeah, I saw it in your face. You basically said, yeah, right. So anyway, it has definitely blossomed very quickly. Our business is thriving and growing, and it's been a huge whirlwind since 2022, but we're doing good. We bought a building this last summer in our little town in Hayfield.
That's
Um,
exciting.
Very exciting. It's just all these unknown new things, these things that my husband and I've never tackled before together. So we were basically doing production. It all started in my kitchen and then it spilled into our dining room. And before we knew it, we were on 2 levels of our house. And then it transitioned to the basement of our house. And we did that for about a year down there. And I think it was like 900 square feet down there. And I was like, and we started having employees in that space. And I'm like, we can't do this anymore. So this building came up. It was a huge blessing. It was something we weren't even looking for. I look back and it was totally meant to be. So anyway, we're in this building now. We're doing production in here, and currently they're working on the main level. We demoed the area and they're doing construction down there, and we're hoping to have a retail space open by springtime.
Well,
So
congratulations. That's very, very exciting.
it is exciting. It's just a lot going on, and it's tax season,
Yeah.
and it's just all these things going on. But
Sounds like
learning.
the story of so many entrepreneurs and like how their businesses develop. My husband and I own Abracadabra Environmental Services, which is a pest and wildlife control company. And it was kind of the same sort of thing. He had bought it from my dad, but it was just him and my dad. And
Okay.
it was, officing out of our home and 2 vehicles parked in our driveway. And then it was like, okay, we're running out of like file space. And of course, then, it was still like paper invoicing besides. So it's like then
Yes.
we rented an office space. Then he started adding employees. So then we rented like a storage unit for chemicals. Same sort of thing. It was like I was driving past a building in our town. We were in Mound at the time. And that was for sale. And I was like, this kind of looks like the perfect spot. And it was like before we knew it, we had bought a building. And you're just like, oh, the next step.
Yes. Yeah. It's like if somebody were to ask me for a roadmap for starting a business, I don't really have one and I didn't have one, to look at to go into it. If I would have had somebody show me, like, what do you call those things? A glass ball. What is that called?
Oh, like a crystal ball.
Thank you. A crystal ball, and said, this is what it's going to be like, I would have ran so fast in the opposite direction. And I'm thankful that I didn't have that to look at, because it honestly comes to you in sections, like in parts, like, okay, we're going to do this and we're going to get through this. And then you get through that thing and then you're like, okay, the next thing is here. But you build
so true.
Yeah, yes. And you just build the confidence, the experience, it all builds on itself. And you honestly, like, I look back where we started or even a year ago, and I'm like, I laugh because even some of the like documents or like emails that I pull up and I'm like, was I really that naive? Yeah, I was. Okay. It's all good. I'm learning. And so then I learned to have that grace for other people that are just starting out, or it helps me to know like how to help people that ask questions that are just starting out, because we've all been there.
Yep.
And it's uncomfortable at times, but you just push through it and get through it. So
Yep, it is, because it's like you said, it's not, you think of like corporations and you look at like a Target or something, you're like, how did that become, you're like, okay, well, that didn't happen overnight.
no, it did not. And I had that feeling when we moved our business out of our basement this last September, and we hired a moving company, and they, pulled up with this big truck, and I was like, we don't need that much space. Well, they filled it. And I was like, how did that all fit in my basement, first of all? And how did we come that far in like a year? It was a mind-blowing moment for me, but it just all takes time and it builds on itself, and it's so exciting at the same time. So
It's funny that you say you're looking at the moving truck and thinking, like you said, like, where did all this stuff come from? Or we're not going to need this much space. And that
yeah.
was the exact same thing with the first building we purchased. We were looking at it, and my husband's talking about how he can divide the front half of the space and maybe put in a batting cage to like bring in more revenue, or like not using it. Like within a year, he's like, all right, this building, we kind of outgrew it and we might need to get another one. And it's like,
Oh my God.
you're like,
100% relate. I'm just laughing as you're telling this, because that's exactly what happened to us as well. Like, the main level that they're working on right now was supposed to be, half of it was supposed to be retail and the other half was supposed to be production. And then the upper level is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, very spacious apartment. And it's in an old brick building that was built in 1938. It's beautiful. So anyway, we were originally going to just rent out that upper level to, like a residential rental.
Yep.
Well, we got in here, we demoed the main level, and my husband and I started looking around and we're like, we're going to grow out of this. Like, this doesn't make sense. And I was like, well, what are we going to do? Well, we let that kind of meld for a few days, and I came back and I said, well, here's what we need to do. I think we need to move the business into the upper level. And again, he looked at me like, you're crazy. Like, you're going to haul all of those supplies up and downstairs. And I was like, well, yep, I think it's going to be a transition. So we'll be upstairs, and it's worked out beautifully up here. And then the main level will be our shipping and receiving in the back, and retail will be in the front. And we own the lot next door. I don't know. I don't think I shared that. And I think our long vision, we're going to have to build something over there. Like,
Yep. And so you'll have build out potential.
yes. Like more of a, and it's just funny for me to even say this as a small business owner that does production. Like, I didn't know what a warehouse was. Like, but the more I'm getting into this, I'm like, we need a warehouse. So I think that's our 2 to 5 year vision, is to build something next door and then get out of the top level. But it's funny how it all unfolds. It just happens.
It's crazy and exciting that you're like 900 square feet was more than enough, and now 4,000 square feet is nowhere near enough.
It's wild. It is wild. But this is where I have a really strong faith, and I really feel like this is where I'm supposed to be, and God led me here. And it's been a really beautiful experience, honestly. If I can just allow myself that time to sit and just kind of like take it all in, because that doesn't happen very often either. I feel like we're just go, 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 go. But if you just let yourself sit and just like think about it, you're like, wow, this is pretty cool. So
as far as your products go, I know you said like you came to your husband and said, I'm gonna make soap for a living. What's your product line look like?
yeah, so when I first started, I had a vision that it was going to be much more than soap, but I didn't know what that vision was yet. I just remember we were trying to come up with a name, and I did not want soap attached to our business name because I knew it was going to be more than that. But
You're like, this is a box.
Yes. So I'm like, so we actually had hired a marketing company out of Rochester to help us with the name and the branding and the logo, which I'm so grateful that I did, because I feel like I probably still wouldn't be in business if I wouldn't have had help with that. So yeah, we expanded. We started with bar soap. When I first launched our business, we launched our website in October of 22. We had 50 different varieties of bar soap, and that was it. That was all that was on our website. Now, today, we have about 32 different varieties of bar soap, and we also make medicinal like salves and balms, and I think we have 6 different options of those. And then we also do a tallow lip balm line. I think we have 8 different options of those. We do a tallow-based lotion bar in different scents. We do solid shampoo and conditioner bars. We do a powdered laundry soap. That is our #1 selling product. That's what our team is making today. We do a solid stain stick. We do men's and women's shaving bars. We do a solid dish soap bar and a loofah bar and doggy shampoo bars. And I'm thinking that is everything right now. So we make a lot of our big focus is to be 100% natural. That's like our #1 thing. And then we're also plastic free in our packaging and everything that we do. And that can get kind of tricky, but we've made it work thus far. I don't know if we'll be able to always be 100% plastic free, but anytime I look at packaging, I do try to get the most environment friendly option. So
That's fantastic. I think it's one of those where like we see the shift in mindsets, and people, lean towards and in their mind they're excited about, like plastic free and natural and things like that. But then there's also like then we see costs of things, and then we're like, oh,
Yeah.
Where am I willing to sacrifice and where am I drawing the line?
Yep. Yeah, I know. I totally hear that. And I feel like there's some give and take in that, where maybe up front it's going to seem like it's more expensive. But then I've also noticed in our lives that we've really simplified things, where you don't need 100 different products to clean up, all the places in your house, where you condense it down into a handful of items that do the work for all of those things that you were doing before with all those other products, if that makes sense.
It definitely does. Yep.
Yeah. So I feel like there's a cost savings balance thing there. But I don't know. I feel like there is a huge shift right now, just in our culture, to going to this more eco-friendly, naturally derived products. And it's so exciting to see that, because I've been dabbling in it for a long time, and it's just exciting to see the momentum picking up. So
No, I would agree with that too, because like I said, when my son was coming, or when I first got pregnant, wasn't even none of this stuff was on my radar really.
yep.
And then it was like he was born, and I would put myself in that crunchy mom category, if you had to like place it, and didn't have a lot of that in my life. So everyone's looking at me like, you are kind of nuts. And then it's like, as life has changed, 1, I've got busier, 2, I've got a little more lax, 3, more people are on board, but I'm like, I find myself in that in between, more scrunchy, give and take.
Oh, I love that. Well, life happens. And again, you just have to find what's best for you and your family and what works. And it's like, there's no such thing as perfection when you're like trying to pursue this lifestyle, because I feel like that just kind of negates the whole pursuit of it, because I don't think that's healthy either, this perfection model. I think it is very overwhelming for people that are first starting out. So I always just tell them to just start with one thing and expand on that. And so when people come to me at markets and they're like, I'm just trying to get rid of toxins in my life, where do you recommend I start? And I always explain to them, our skin is our biggest organ, and it absorbs everything in our environment, everything we put on it. So I always feel like the laundry room is the best place to start, because the products that you put in your laundry, they affect your whole body. So just start small and see what works and build on that, and try not to get overwhelmed with it, because it's easy to get overwhelmed with it.
And in closing, the same thing I always say, much, much more simple. But until next time, mamas, keep doing your best. Thank you for joining me on this roller coaster of momming right here on Momma-Sota. I hope you enjoyed our candid conversation about all things parenting, where perfection is left at the door and real life takes center stage. Stay tuned for more heartfelt, unfiltered discussions in the next episode. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review Momma-Sota on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us. Until next time, this is Monica Eickman signing off. Keep rocking that mom life, and remember, you've got this.